Hey, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co, and today I'm reviewing Dorfromantik from Pegasus Bill. Dorfromantik is a 1 to 6 player tile laying game that you will never ever lose. Genuinely, you'll never really lose this game. The question is, how will you win? Which challenges will you accomplish? How will you process? How will you proceed through this? And also, why in the world did they put 1 to 6 player on the box when in reality it's a 1 to 2 player game, at least in my opinion. We'll get into all of that, but let's talk about how this game plays. In the game, like I said already, you're never going to lose. What you're going to do, on the other hand, is you're going to start placing down tiles in an effort of trying to get a score, and that score is going to determine the pace at which you unlock new things, new challenges, new tiles, new things in the game that will give you a new high to go for, something else that you can try to achieve. You're going to start the game by getting points anywhere between 120 to 100 and 120 to 160 points for your first few games. But scores go to 200, 300, 400 points, but you have to earn the various tools and tiles that will allow you to get there. And so the reason to play this game, the goal of this game, is to try to figure out what you're unlocking next, what cards, what challenges, what things will be added to your experience, so you can then find those higher scores, until eventually you unlock everything, achieve the higher scores, accomplish all the challenges, at which point you get to decide what to do next, whether to reset, play the game again, pass it on to a friend, whether you're done with it, or whether you're going to come back to it in 6 to 12 months, or who knows what. The options are all yours. But as far as the actual gameplay goes, you're going to start with two piles of tiles. You're going to have your little task tiles here and then your regular village tiles. And you're going to start putting out task tiles until you have 3 in play. We're going to have this over here. We're going to grab one of these. We're going to reveal it. And that's a 6, which means we need a forest region of at least 6. Or not at least 6, I say that wrong. Exactly 6 forests in order to complete that task. Less and you're not yet done. More and the task goes away and you've lost it. Although we'll explain exactly how that works. We're going to place another tile over here. And look at that. We got lucky. We got another forest tile off the bat. This one's a 5. We actually could pair this up together, and as soon as we get to 5, this will be completed, and as soon as we get to 6, that will be completed. When I said more than the number, there are times and ways where you can place down a tile where a size 4 forest will jump immediately to 6 because of the way you compared things or the way you put things together, and if that happened, the 6 will be complete, but the 5 would be lost. We have another tile to put out over here. This is not set up this way. I'm going to shuffle that in. The goal here is not to do that, to like show you 3, 4 tiles in a row. That was just luck of the draw. We're going to go ahead and draw one of these. And look at that. It's not a forest this time. Good for that. We're going to place down a 6 hut forest. And if you see over there, not forest, 6 village over there. And if you see, we're going to try to go ahead and place this like so because we think that's already going to give us the second one. And so we're making progress. From there, we grab one of these tiles, and we start placing until we no longer have 3 in play, at which point we'll grab new ones. I could place this on this side and see how it grows, or I could start going towards that and seeing how that grows. I'll go ahead and do that. And we're going to play this for a few minutes as I show you how things unfold in the game. We're going to grab this one over here. This one, it could be added to the river, but we'll go ahead and just place this, you know what, let's go ahead and place it down like so, over there. Nice little long area there. I'm going to toss another one of these, and we got another one of these. That could be added to the river this time. I think I am inclined to add this one to the river and see how that one goes. It's not going to help us for right now, but it'll help us later. We're building out our foundation for the future. It's going to be part of the game, is building out your foundation for the future, although that will all make sense as you continue to play this game. Over here, we can go ahead and we could put this like so, which will give us the good opportunity to go there. That's going to be a bit tricky to manage this, though, so I need to be mindful of exactly, you know what, I'm just going to go like this, and we'll make those rails come along later if we can. We may not be able to. It's just, sometimes those things don't really happen. Over here, we can place this. We just need to be careful about turning that into the wrong size forest. Over here, we could go ahead and close this off. We can't do it over here. We could close it off just straight and simple over here, but I don't really want to. So we're going to go ahead and put it over there and see what happens. A size 3 railwood is a nice thing to get out there because you're going to want some other tiles, and we'll talk more about how those come into play. I kind of hurt myself over here by placing this river here. It's going to make that a bit harder to go ahead and grow, so we're just going to put that one down there. We're going to grab this. We got our rail. I don't actually want to make this rail bigger yet, but I don't mind making this area a little, differently sized there. We can go ahead and add one of these. We're getting a harder time to actually accomplish what we need. This over here is not bad. That might work for us. We still need to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need a 6th in there. Let's go ahead and try to get our hands on that. And there we go. There we go. We've gotten our 6 in there. We've also added to this forest, although 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which means we actually just completed 2 tasks over here. We're going to take this tile, we've completed it. We're going to take this tile, we've completed it. And because there's now fewer than 3 task tiles, we're going to go ahead and grab another one. We're going to place this one out. This one needs one of these over here, and so it needs a size 4. And this is where we could go ahead and place it over here like so. That's not the worst. It'll help connect to that, but I don't know if that's actually the best move. But I don't really want to start a new area either. I don't know. This is These are hard choices. It's a good thing I'm not actually playing this game. We're going to go ahead and take another one of these over here, and we got that. Now this is interesting. We hope, if it was a 6, that would have been great. At the beginning of the game, there's going to be 2 6s, 2 5s, and a 4 for each number, but it's not a 6, it's a 4. So let's go ahead and toss this down into this existing forest and see how that plays out. And that's basically what you're doing in the game. You're placing down tiles, you're trying to accomplish their goals. There's a stack of these tiles over here. There's going to be, for the 3 core terrains, you're going to have towns, forests, and this, wheat fields or whatever. And then you'll also have for the rails and for the water. So you can see, for example, you'll draw one of these, we have to have a 4-length river, or alternatively, have to have a 6-length rail. And this is where you start thinking about the planning of the game, the way the game helps you plan or think towards things, because ultimately, the goal of the game is to complete as many tasks as possible. When you completely run out of village tiles, that's when the game ends, but you only get to put new task tiles in place when you actually go ahead and surround things. So you're constantly trying to build towards that surrounding, being mindful of how the tiles work. It is easy and compelling to sit there and say, hey, look, we have a size 6 over here, let's finish that as quick as possible. It is easy and compelling to simply say, you know what, let's just keep building this rail as long as possible. When a task comes out, a task comes out. The problem is if you eventually do find that rail, if you eventually do show that rail shows up, this rail over here, when you draw that, 4 over here, that 4 can actually be built, well, not here because I built that there foolishly, but if we didn't have that there, I can go ahead and build that 4 over here because I set myself up and immediately cash it in. The game is going to reward pre-planning. The game is going to reward you for building out little networks. So over here, I already have a size 3, so as soon as we draw a size 4, boom, we can go ahead and finish that area. And that kind of planning is constantly present in the game. And you're going to do that until you get to the end of the first game. You're going to score up everything. You're going to go to this one of these score pads over here. You're going to score up points for all your tasks, which are going to be, 6 plus 6, that's 12, plus 22, 26 points per each of the types. That's the maximum you can get. The maximum you can get is 26 times 5, which is 130 points. Plus, you're going to get points for the flag regions. Let's see if we can find your flag over here. I should have some flags in here for you. I'm trying to find you a 5. There we go. These over here, these tiles over here, when you place them down as part of an existing area, if this connects to a closed off village, you're going to get 2 points for that flag region. So you can get a point for each of the 3 flags, a point for your longest railroad, and a point for your longest water, which means you're looking at somewhere in the capacity of around 160 to 170 points for your first game, depending on how well you score everything, which feels great. You're going to go ahead at the end of that first game, you're going to mark it all up, and you're going to go over here, you're going to say 170 points. Okay, we got the farmer's wife category. That means 6 little boxes. And then we're going to go over here and mark off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. Not 7, 6. Which means right about now, you're trying to figure out how to get that next box, because right now you're going to open box 1. But you need to start earning more of these boxes as you go. And you could earn as many as 15 points per box, 15 points per game, 15 boxes per game, or as little as 1 box per game. And you're always going to earn something. You're always going to be working your way towards the next unlocks. Boxes 1 and 2 will give you, well, I don't want to spoil what they're going to give you. They're going to give you things. I'll say this much. You're going to get cards. Effectively, the things you're getting throughout the course of the game are going to be tiles that help you score more, and cards that give you challenges and or are matched with various abilities in the game. And those are all going to give you new things you can do, new ways you can score points, new ways you can slowly creep higher and higher to eventually hitting those 400 points across the course of somewhere in the range of 10 to 15 games of Dorfromantik, depending on how well you do. The game proceeds faster depending on how well you do. You're unlocking more boxes faster depending on how well you do. And that's basically how you play Dorfromantik. Or at least how you play Dorfromantik with what I can tell you without spoiling things, and I do not have an interest in spoiling things for you, and so that's where we're going to leave off the how to play. We have our 5 boxes here full of various goodies and tiles and things. I've already unlocked a bunch, but I made sure to leave all of that out of the way for you for the sake of this review. And speaking of review, let's go ahead and talk about the review, starting off with ease of play, which is the rulebook is incredibly easy. This is a simple game to go through. You're basically placing down tiles, trying to create little task patterns. There's a few rules and nuances of exactly, okay, fine, you just put these down until you have 3, you have to put these down. Various terrain types don't have to match up. I can go ahead and match this up against that. That's perfectly legal. But you can't match up the rails against something that isn't rails. Rails have to match rails. River has to match river, everything else is fair game. And then past that, there's a few small rules, nuances, but the core gameplay, you've already seen most of what you have to see. You already know mostly how to play Dorfromantik from watching this video. As far as game length, it varies a bit, and it also varies heavily based on player count. If you're playing this solo, you can knock out a game in 25 to 35 minutes. If you're playing with more players, it will slow down, especially with table talk, but I'd say at the long end, you're looking at an hour per game, although as you add more tiles, it can grow a little bit, but not significantly. But somewhere in the range of, I'd say, 30 minutes to 60 minutes per game, depending on player count and table talk. As far as what I like, don't like, and can see others not liking, starting off with what I like, which is the sense of progression this game gives you. these charts over here, the ability to unlock new things, the ability to sit there and go ahead and unlock your first card. You get the achievement card circus, you read what it is, you have some sense of how it works, which I'm not going to tell you because, again, no spoilers. But then past that, suddenly you're now wondering, okay, well, what's the farm card going to do? What's the clouds going to do? What are all these cards going to do? What are they all going to give me? What challenges, what things, what tools are they going to give me so that I can start earning more? You'll have some hint of that as you have these over here. This is a whole section of various things you're unlocking, of the various ways you're going to score extra points for a ton of different things that will all contribute to slowly but surely increasing your score in this game. You have that sense of progression. You have that sense of just one more game of like, okay, great, I finished, I did my thing, it was like 35, 45 minutes, I got it. But I also unlocked a new challenge card. And I'm pretty sure if I score high enough in this game, I'll be able to actually go a full cycle onto the next one. I might be able to get 2 challenge cards out of this next one. And so that has that sense of progression, that sense of unlocks, that sense of just wanting to do more. I talked at the beginning about how this is a game where you can't lose, but a game that you can't lose is not the same thing as a game without a challenge. The challenge here is how do you score as high as you possibly can, and how do you complete all the various challenge cards the game gives you of scoring points in different ways, doing different things in order to unlock more and more things. This is a game about continuing to play it so that you can continue to play it. Continue to play it so you can score more points, so you can do more, so you can get more done. It is simple, clear progression, and it has that kind of, not really push your luck gameplay, but just a sense of trying to do more. It is a very simple tile laying game that rewards you for clever thinking. It rewards you for understanding the system. You're going to play this game, and you're going to start figuring out, the game won't tell you, but you, by playing it, will figure out that, you know what? I can actually get more task tiles done if I plan, if I prep, if I try to think through how to, like that, just that one thing I mentioned over here about how very often creating groups of 3, because you're going to have these small tiles of 4, creating groups of 3 that are ready to go, as opposed to just trying to grow everything that you possibly can, will set you up for success. There is degrees of luck in this game, but you can plan and prep for how to achieve as many points as possible. And so despite the fact that you can't lose, there is a sense of challenge, progression, and unlocking in the game of Dorfromantik. As far as things I don't like in the game, despite the fact that there is a sense of challenge and things to learn and nuances to pick up, for the most part the game is very simple. Once you pick up a certain degree of things, and again, as you unlock things, as you unlock new tiles, there will still be new things to learn, new ways to get better at the game. But there is a cap on how complex this game is. This game is a gateway game at its heart. This game is a light, simple, accessible game, and that means that a light, simple, accessible game that asks you to sit down and play it for 10 plus plays, likely more than 10 plays, but again, 10 to 15 plays under your belt, that is a game that's asking for a lot of repetition with only a tile or 2 being added per game. That simple set of, okay, great, place a tile, score things, place a tile, task, new task tile, place them all out. It's a little simple, it's a little procedural, and you're going to play a full game of it, and then maybe unlock one tile that marginally changes the way you approach it. It does increase your capacity, it does increase what you can do, but it's still a little simple and a little slower relative to the amount of things you unlock. That's not necessarily true for the first few games. The first few games, you'll go through a bunch of boxes, you'll get a bunch of things unlocked, but as it progresses more and more, that sense of how much you can get done, sure, you're earning more bullet points per, more little check boxes per game because you're scoring higher, but also you're getting fewer things as the game progresses, and you start to check those things off, and that sense of progression is present. But again, the game is not that hard, it's not that complicated. The gameplay is incredibly light, and it's worth knowing that about the game. So it's no real issue, just it's a lighter experience. A lighter experience that asks you to give it a lot of time and attention across multiple plays. I'll also say that there's a sense of luck to the game, a sense of drawing different tiles that will or won't work for your engine as you're trying to finish off certain terrain types and you just refuse to draw the right terrain type again and again and again. This is a game, or alternatively, that you're trying to set yourself up for certain patterns because of how you've learned how to play the game, and so you've figured out, and there's elements of strategy I can't get into without revealing things about the things that come next, but there are, just to give you one example, there are certain tiles that I can't talk about the future in this game. There are things you will try to do in this game that will unlock, that will give you ways to optimize strategically around how to maximize your score. But ultimately, you're still victim to luck in the game. You're still victim to a lot of what tiles get drawn, in what order they get drawn, both from the regular village tiles to the task tiles. Yes, you can plan ahead, but you can't plan with perfection. And so for a game that's this light, the amount of luck that gets in the way that affects your score is also present in the game, which is worth being aware of. As far as things I can see others not liking, first of all, the fact that you can't lose is a big one. It doesn't necessarily bother me. For me, it's not about winning or losing, it's about how a game presents it. And this game does give you that challenge. It does give you that motivation to do as well as you can, even though you can't lose. Every game, win or win less, you will get at least one box checked off. And so this game, you cannot lose. It doesn't bother me because there's still a sense of doing better. But if you are frustrated by the concept of a game that you can't lose, this may not be for you, because this is all about moving forward. It's just up to you to determine the pace that you move forward, and that's the sense of accomplishment or lack of accomplishment that you'll have. Sure, you can't technically lose, but I dare anyone to play this game to check off a single checkbox and not feel a sense of failure. That sense of failure is still present. Winning and losing is technicalities. That sense of failure is very present. Secondly, I'll say I touched upon this already, but this game to me is a solo or two-player game, and to me a solo game. In Dorfromantik, you are grabbing a tile, you are placing it out, you're trying to figure out where to place it, and you're doing so based on a sense of shared objectives, which means this is not Carcassonne where you can build out your own little area and not worry with other players. You are trying to work with the other players to get that best score possible, which means when you play it solo, you are completely in control of your own actions. You build out your own terrain, you put out your own things, you make your own decisions. When you play it with two people, you start consulting. It's my turn. Okay, I grab a tile and I put out a tile and I put it down over here because I think, ooh, look at that, doubling up on flags. That's gonna be really useful. And then it's time for your turn. You go out and grab a tile and you start putting it down here. And I'm like, you know what? Actually, I don't know if that's the best place to put it because I want to start offering input. And so I have a choice in this game. When you're playing it multiplayer, you have a choice. Either you offer input at other people's turns, drastically slowing down the game and also making them feel a little less in control of their turns, or you sit back, you purse your lips, and you simply do not say anything as you watch a light game proceed to be even less fun because there's even less agency than there was before. Two players for me is tolerable. More than that is not tolerable, and two players isn't even ideal. A single player game is where this game shines, but then the flip side of that is you then lose that sense of shared progression, that sense of look what we've unlocked together, look what we're doing together. And so there's a benefit to playing with two, but I find the game's too light, that it doesn't work as well for me at two. But yeah, if you're not looking for a game, if you're looking for a game that is not specifically solo, or even when playing two players effectively a solo experience, this game may not be for you. As far as final thoughts on Dorfromantik, there's a lot to like about Dorfromantik. There's a lot of sense of progression. There's an ease of gameplay. This is both a great gateway game, a lot of fun to unlock things. Again, that sense of progression with lightness, with accessibility, a lot of fun things are going on here. At the same time, for me, it is very much on the lighter side, and that does hold back for me. I've played it a whole bunch because that sense of progression is there, that sense of wanting to unlock something else is there, but for me, I played it to get to the next thing. I didn't play it because I liked it. Well, at first I did, but the more I played it, the more the repetitiveness sunk in, and the more it became about trying to find the next thing, as opposed to actually enjoying the gameplay. So it started off with, hey, this is very light, proceeded to be like, I'm unlocking fun things and getting a sense of challenge, and then the grind started to set in, but the sense of progression never went away, and so the last few games were a bit of a pushing myself to accomplish the next thing just to get to the next thing, because I'm not going to simply open a box and do my own thing. So I'm torn in this one. I'm in the middle. I appreciate it. I think it's a lot of fun. Any game that I gave this much time to is certainly not a bad game by any means, or at least not a bad game for me. For me, this is a 3.5 out of 5. The gameplay is incredibly light. The gameplay is very, very light, even with all the things you unlock. But the sense of progression, the drive forward, those are all things that hold your attention. The main thing I'd encourage you to be mindful of is, first of all, it is a light game. Take that into account. And then secondly, again, that solo aspect. I think it is a solo or two-player game, and a two-player game is ultimately a solo experience where you're both sharing the reins and making decisions together. Otherwise, this might just not be a game for you. In any case, that's Dorfromantik, a 3.5 out of 5. A lot of things to like about this game. A great gateway game, and I think a good entryway to the hobby, and something that people will want to explore, but it also may or may not be right for you. As far as other game recommendations, first of all, if you're looking for a very accessible game that is equally light, but I think gives you more decision space and doesn't have some of the things that get in the way of Dorfromantik, My City is going to be one of my go-to recommendations for when you want to introduce somebody to a game that is both accessible, but also gives you a sense of progression, a sense of unlocks across 24 games, each of which are about half an hour long, and will just reward you continuously as you play them. And if you're just looking for a good tile laying game, I mentioned it already in this review, but Carcassonne is a classic for a reason. It's going to give you a head-to-head game, although they actually have Carcassonne Mists of Carcassonne, which is the new cooperative version as well. So if you're looking for that, either in a cooperative or alternatively a competitive version, that's a classic tile-laying game that has been around for a very long time. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.